fellow fantasy sports junkies. I'm your host, Joe Boozrum. Never fear, distraction is here. Isolated in a pandemic, like the rest of us, is Vlad to the bone and Ross the boss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the boss, and I want to talk sports with you, cowboy. We also have a great guest tonight. I'm excited. I've known this guest almost my whole life. I went to high school with him. I played football with him. He played 8 years in NFL. He was an offensive tackle for the Raiders, Colts, Vikings. He also won a Grey Cup in Canada. He's one of my best friends. He's coming on a little later. His name's Rick Cunningham. You're going to love him. When he played, he was 6'9", 320. He's a huge guy. You guys are just going to love his stories about everything from Reggie White to playing all over the country. He's the best. I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited. I'm Ross the boss.
That is an awesome intro for Rick. But I feel like I just learned you played football with Rick Cunningham. What position did you play?
I was linebacker.
Who are you? I don't even know who you are anymore.
I was linebacker, and the greatest thing about Rick was he was the defensive tackle, so he was double teamed, and I got to make all the tackles. So
yeah, he made you look really good, didn't he?
Yeah, so I was first team all league because I led the league in tackles one year, and he was I don't know if he was first team, but he ended up going to Texas A&M. And I ended up going to Arizona State and playing baseball. I didn't play football in college, but Rick's great. You guys are going to love him. He's excited because the Raiders and the Cardinals are both 2-0, and he played for both teams. So he has a lot to say.
Can't wait to meet him. Okay, guys, we are now turning to 1st and 10. Okay, guys, so here's what I want to know. If you had to pick one strategy in fantasy football that is the most important for winning every year, what would it be?
Well, I think in general, to me, the most important strategy is in your preparation for the draft would be establishing the tiers that we had talked about during the first episode and kind of assigning values to different players within each position so that you can be best prepared for your draft. Drafting is so important in football, especially in a redraft league, which I believe a majority of the leagues are, because what you don't want to do is end up with too many in one position and not enough in another, and then you're trying to scramble to make the best trades or moves in order to develop a full team.
It sounds good on paper, but the waiver wire, you're going to get maybe one or two diamonds in the rough. Okay, that's seriously, you're not gonna win any championships going on the waiver wire and picking up Mike Davis or some player that's on there that's going to get like 2 or 3 weeks of average play. Now you got to strategize this, and I said this before. If you have a star like Lamar Jackson and you have another quarterback like, let's say, Ben Roethlisberger or Gardner Minshew on the bench, I would kind of waive Lamar Jackson in people's faces and see what kind of value you can get for him. People want a great quarterback like Lamar, but if you can get like a great running back and a good receiver for Lamar Jackson, I would do that trade in a second. And I would take a chance. I would start like a Joe Burrow. I would start a Gardner Minshew, Ben Roethlisberger. There's a lot of great quarterbacks out there. You got to trade to be a winner. If you want to be a winner, you got to trade like Ross the boss does. And if you just sit there on your hands all season, you might win, but you probably won't because you're not doing your job as a manager. You got to trade, and that's Ross the boss talking.
All right, so Kasey, it sounded like you were talking mostly about balance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you take, as was talked about in the first episode, you take your safe picks in the beginning of the draft, and then you take some risks maybe later in the draft for guys that can help you be those diamonds in the rough that Ross was preparing was talking about. But I don't know if trading is the best strategy to apply in order to have a winning season. Certainly, you're going to be in situations where maybe you're forced to make a trade or two. But if that's what you're banking on, being able to trade for superstars with superstars, I don't know if that's a solid strategy.
Wait. Stop the presses. I mean, for Kasey to say that trading is not the number one thing is pretty amazing, because anybody who knows us, Kasey, me anyway, we're trading all the time. But what I was hearing, Kasey, is you think it's the draft. Now, Ross, I was hearing something different from you, and this might really surprise you. I was listening to you, and I just wanted to correct your pronunciation of Gardner Minshew. It's Minshew, isn't it?
Minshew. I said
No,
it, I
no,
said
but
it wrong.
here's the no.
Gardner,
But I'm not calling you out.
Minshew. But what I'm saying is this.
No,
listen,
I fell. Go ahead.
listen. I mean, you got to trade during the season. I know so many owners that don't trade, and you don't want to be one of those owners. You got to
don't trade your best player. You don't.
Yeah, but
trade Lamar
okay. I'll
Jackson.
give you an example of what I did today. I made an offer for Zeke Elliott, who plays for the Dallas Cowboys, who's having a pretty good year. Not great, but I made a straight up offer for Aaron Jones of Green Bay because he had a huge game last week, 200 plus yards and touchdowns. And the person's thinking about it because Jones had an unbelievable week. Jones isn't going to do that every week.
But that's a different strategy than what you talked about when you first talked. You said trade your star and try to get 2-for-1s. Now you're saying you trade for an underperforming stud with somebody who may be a little overvalued at the point. I think that's a great strategy.
First of all, Ross, I did want to say the reason I pointed out that pronunciation is I was very hesitant to do it because, like with my kids, when they mispronounce something and I love it, I didn't want you to stop. So please keep calling him Gardner Minshew. I want to hear that. But I'm going to say my strategy. This is why
I can't wait to hear. I just can't wait to hear this season. I can't wait to hear this genius strategy. What is it?
Okay, so Casey's talking about the draft
football record before he says.
No, we're not talking about
the draft is over. The draft's been over for 4 weeks or 3 weeks.
No.
No draft.
That's the thing. We don't want it to only be about draft and only about trades. My strategy is about balance. Balance works in both places. You need it across the board.
Explain. Maybe I'm stupid. What's balance? I don't. Of course you have balance. When you have a bad tight end,
you just
a
great
don't want running back. I mean, what are you talking? What are you talking? Tell me about balance.
All right.
And Danielson, tell me about balance.
Danielson, if you have 4 great running backs and 1 receiver, you're totally out of balance. You can only start probably 3 of those running backs. Right. There are teams that load up on these things.
You trade.
Okay, so I'm with you on that. But see, I say what you're saying is part of the solution. What Casey's saying is part of the solution. What I'm saying is all of the solution. Booyah! What do you think?
I agree. And my key thing about when you draft, and Andrew will agree with me later, you draft the best player for that purpose. So you can either trade him or start him later, but you don't want these great players sitting on your bench. You want to either trade them away or start them. If they sit on your bench, it's a wasting away to nothing. I mean,
okay, now
you got to be proactive every week until the trade deadline's over. If you don't, you will lose.
I don't think anybody's suggesting you don't be proactive. I'm just saying if you have Lamar Jackson, you don't trade him.
I disagree. We're going to keep debating this for a long time.
I disagree. I think if you get the right deal, you trade him. Go on.
I'm going to bring in our resident Fantasy Pros expert, Andrew Seifter. I'm going to summon you like a genie. I said that I would. Here he is. I rub the lamp, and here he is.
Somebody with some sense. Somebody that knows what he's talking about.
What's up?
Finally.
I feel like I'm interrupting your big argument, but
well, you're the referee now.
Well, maybe I can help you guys.
You're the man of reason. You know what's going on.
Let me try to. Dan tried with the balance argument to do the kumbaya, but I got a different way of doing it. I'm actually a little bit cautious when it comes to trades, but I agree with Ross that there is a certain point where a trade is absolutely critical. So the way that I really look at it is it's 2 parts of the season. There's the beginning, the first half of the season, and the second half of the season. First half of the season, which includes the draft, which Kasey was talking about, you're trying to accumulate as much value as you can. Every bench spot matters. You're just trying to build value. If a guy is disappointing, don't stick with him. Cut him, pick somebody else up. But be smart about it. Don't do that overreacting thing we were talking about last week. But so you're building up as much value, and eventually around midseason, you're in playoff contention, and then you've got all these great players on your bench that you can't even fit into your starting lineup because you've done such a good job of building value, and that's when you make the trade. That's when you try to get an upgrade to one of your starting positions. So you take a guy and say you've got like DJ Moore or something, he's a great player, but can you turn DJ Moore into Devontae Adams, right? I mean, that's huge if you can. And if you've got some running back on your bench that's, an RB2 kind of guy just wasting away, can't even get into your lineup, that you make that deal and you get the best player in the deal. and that gets you ready. By the time you get to the playoffs, you got an all-star team that you never could have drafted from day one. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Now let me say this: I wasn't necessarily being kumbaya about it, because what you're saying, first of all, I love hearing that from you, because I did learn that from you. I started playing the game and I was like, oh, it's all the same. But the first half really is different than the second half. For me, the first half starts 0-5. I'm kidding. It actually usually does. But
yeah, no strategy will save you in that situation.
No, but listen, balance is part of what you're saying too. So I think you just fed right into my overall strategy. So let's talk a little bit about the waiver wire and how you address that with free agent acquisition budget. How do you handle that?
Well, it's really important. I mean, and there's different rules in different leagues. So, I used to only play in leagues where it was waiver priority. So it was just you cycle through, and if you got the number one waiver priority when the great pickup happens to come up, you're lucky and you get that guy. And if you're down at number 12, you're not going to get him. But I think we've seen a lot more leagues shift to the fab structure over the years. So there's different strategies for each. I think with the waiver priority strategy, you have to really make that call each week. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to use that claim, or are you better off just kind of taking a pass that week and moving up and getting in position for when a true gold mine comes? Whereas with the fab budget, you're really trying to think about how you're going to make your bids, and you have to not only evaluate how good the players are, you have to sort of evaluate what you think other people are going to do. So, for example, with Devonta Freeman, who's going to be a big who was a big waiver addition this week. I think there's some people in a lot of leagues who went crazy for him because he used to be a star. So maybe you say, I'm gonna just make a keep him honest bid with this one. I'm not gonna blow my whole budget on this guy because he plays for the Giants and he's not gonna be a great running back like he used to be. So I like to take bids. Don't bid with a zero at the end either. Maybe go a few bucks beyond that round up so that you get a tiebreaker.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
so instead of bidding $10, bid $12 or something, because there might be a bunch of people that bid $10. There's little things like that. You got to sort of, and look at your league history too. Go back and see how much players went for in the past in your league. And then you'll get a sense of how aggressive people are with their bids. And that can help you decide how much you want to bid as well.
Ross the boss, you said that this is a man who makes sense. You said this is a man who makes sense, so I want to hear what you think about what he said.
I think he's right. When I bid, I've been in those leagues many times. I always give an odd number, like instead of 10, I'll give 11 or 13. I always do an odd number. That's the Ross and Boss rule. I always do odd numbers when I do bids. But you got to remember, with the pandemic, I hate to bring this up, and no preseason, a lot of these players are going to get hurt, and we're going to see more running backs go down in the next few weeks. So right now is a good time to pick up. If you have a certain running back, get his backup. Do it this week, because if you wait later and the guy goes down, there's going to be a big bidding war for this guy. So just be smart. Just be smart. Like if you have Aaron Jones, get Jamal Williams also. I mean, just be smart. Know the backups. Because the running back position, there's going to be more running backs that go down next week. And you heard from me first, Ross the boss, that there are going to be more injuries, a lot more to star players in the next couple of weeks. I don't like it. You don't like it. No one likes it, but it's the truth. And you got to face the truth. And can you handle the truth?
Yeah. And, with the handcuffing too, that's another thing. I believe in handcuffing. There's a lot of people in the fantasy industry who aren't huge fans of it, but I think it's really important. But I think it's especially important, again, in the second half of the season, because that's when
what I was gonna
you're
say.
just trying to make sure that you have your insurance for, early in the season, you might not have a good enough team to win the championship. And that's when you might want to devote your bench to players that have more upside. Maybe it depends who the backup is on a certain team. Maybe they're not going to be half of what the starter is, even if the starter goes down. So in those situations, maybe you'd rather stash a more high upside backup on a different team, just because the reward could be so much higher. But then the closer you get to the playoffs, you got to shift your strategy there and just be looking for that insurance.
Stick around to find out how we did on our picks for our biggest fantasy performers in week 2. But before we do that, it's Ross's rant. Ross the boss, you got 1:31 on the clock. Go!
Hey, everybody, I'm Ross the boss. And today my rants about the tale of two quarterbacks. You're saying tale of two quarterbacks. That should be a book or a TV show. No, it's Ross the Boss's rant. And the first quarterback I'm going to talk about is Drew Brees. Drew Brees is an old man. He's showing his age. He's 40 years old. I know he had over 300 yards against the Raiders, but you know what? He had one touchdown. He looked awful. He was missing passes. The week before, he only had 200 something yards. His time is gone. It's time to, if you have Drew Brees on your team, either drop him or trade him. He's not the guy he used to be. I had him as like a second tier quarterback this season going into it. No preseason. I had no idea his arm shot. He can't play anymore. It's over. Drew Brees is done. Bye-bye. But the next quarterback I'm going to talk about is Cam Newton. He's somebody that signed with the Patriots, not in June, not in May, but in July. No one wanted this guy. He signed for how much money he got. He got less money. I wrote a list of players that make more money than him. Are you ready? There's Chad Haney. There's Andy Dalton makes more money than him. There's Matt Barkley makes more money than him. There's numerous quarterbacks that are backups that make a lot more money than Cam Newton. And Cam Newton was unbelievable the past 2 weeks. He's rushing, he's scoring touchdowns, he's passing. He had 390 yards last week. He's unbelievable. Cam Newton is the pick of the draft. I'm Ross the Boss. That's my time.
It's time for Take Your Pick. We're going to check in on how our picks did last week, the difference makers. I did go with Josh Allen. It was against my own instincts, and as usual, Josh Allen proved me wrong. He was a very strong pick. Kasey, how'd your guy do?
Derrick Henry did not do as well as I had hoped. I kind of touted him to put up video game numbers, and I think he had 25 rushes for 84 yards and didn't find the end zone.
Well, there are video games for that. I think a 10-yard fight, maybe.
Ooh, fourth and inches from the old Commodore.
Yeah. But I have to give you credit. You were the one who did not go for a quarterback. That was brave. And in fact, this week we're going to banish quarterbacks from this because they're just too easy to pick. But I think it's the right idea. Ross, how'd your guy do?
I took Josh Jacobs. The Raiders were playing at home in their beautiful new stadium. I thought maybe Josh would at least get a couple touchdowns. He had 80 something yards rushing, and he had over 100 yards total, but he didn't have a touchdown. No touchdown.
Forgot you also went running back, also brave. So he was only two touchdowns shy of two touchdowns. So that's
he still had over 100 yards total. I mean, it wasn't a disaster. It wasn't a Saquon Barkley situation, but it wasn't a great performance like I thought he was going to have.
Okay, so this is the one time we did allow quarterbacks. We realized our mistake when it was just like shooting fish in a barrel. But Andrew and I both went for quarterbacks. What's that?
You're underplaying our accomplishments, Dan, I have to tell you. I don't think it's any easier to pick the quarterbacks than picking Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, who are both consensus top 10 running backs. Cam Newton was nowhere near a consensus top 10 quarterback.
I disagree.
Are you kidding me? Nobody had him. Listen, I know. I work for the site Fantasy Pros that tracks this. There was nobody that was picking Cam Newton as a elite quarterback play. I was significantly higher than everybody else in the industry on him. So I'm taking my victory lap, and I'm not letting it be diluted just because he's a quarterback.
Don't hurt your hand. Pat yourself on the back.
Well, he's not going to do it this week against the Raiders. So good. Enjoy your.
Well, you can't pick Cam Newton anymore because the cat's out of the bag. He's every week quarterback one.
Wait, but what about Josh Allen? You're just going to blow right past this? I mean,
Josh
it's
Allen's
at least
a
a contest.
There were more people that were on Josh Allen.
Josh Allen is leading the league in yards right now. He's having an unbelievable season. It's a breakout season for the kid from Wyoming.
Is because of what I picked.
I agree. He's
not only because you picked him, it's because you picked him and didn't believe in him.
Yeah, but it's true. It's a great story. This kid was not recruited. He was not recruited. No school wanted him. He sent his tapes around. This coach from Wyoming finally picked him to come to Wyoming, which is the middle of nowhere. And the kid became a first-round draft pick. Unbelievable.
Hey, I think the Bills' offense is legit. I mean, I think that they're bringing in Stephon Diggs was really huge for their passing game. So I do think they're going to be a better passing attack this year than they were last season. That being said, They've played the Dolphins. They've played the Jets. They're playing the Rams. They got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey to deal with this coming week. So we'll see.
And the
We'll
Bills,
see
the
about
Bills
that.
do have the best defensive line in the league. That's coming from Ross the Boss, just so you know. It's not up for discussion.
But in fairness, I mean, I did pick him. I picked Josh Allen because he was playing the Dolphins, so I did factor that in. However, I do think Andrew should get the gold star on that one because Cam Newton was a less picked pick, and he nailed it. So we're gonna give you the gold star on this one. But now we're moving to pick our difference maker picks for next week. No quarterbacks allowed.
Okay.
Who you got? I'm gonna put on the spot Ross the Boss.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross the Boss, and I got 2 picks actually. My first pick is the Drake did it. The Drake did it. I'm taking Drake from Arizona. He's playing against Detroit. I think 2 touchdowns, 150 yards. He's going to have a huge game. I feel it. Everyone feels it. I'm taking him. My second pick, but we're not counting it, but I'm just saying it because I think you should take him if you have him on your bench, is Allen Robinson the third or second, one of the two. Is Allen Robinson.
No, that's an important distinction between
The one that
two.
plays receiver for the
no.
Bears, not his
Allen
dad.
Robinson the third from the Chicago Bears. They're playing Atlanta, who will give the ball to every receiver. Ridley will have 100 yards. Jones will have 100 yards. My boy Gage will have 100 yards. They're all going to have 100 yards again against a bad defense. But
Everybody gets 100 yards.
But
You
Chicago's
get a
defense
car.
is okay. But the long story short, I love Robinson. A lot of people keep him on the bench during the week. Start him this week. You heard it from Ross the Boss.
But don't start any NFL player's father. I just don't do it. I don't think there's anybody out there.
I still don't.
Okay.
I still don't understand if the father's not playing in the league. Why do you need like the third?
Why
or the
have the
second?
third?
Or yeah, I mean, what's the point? Is the
I
grandfather
think-
coming out of the stands to play? I mean, why do they
I think
have
it's his
all that?
identity, you know?
I think they
I
just need a new.
guess,
They
I
need a
mean-
name for it, instead of just Junior. There should be the third needs like some kind of cool name.
I could see when Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
played with his dad. I can see why he was called Junior and his dad was Senior.
Can you
or just Ken
imagine
Griffey.
A
But-
long home run from Ken Griffey III? It just doesn't sound right. Okay,
could happen.
now
Keep going.
I'm gonna make my pick now because you took Drake. He was one of the ones that I was gonna take. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Taylor. I think it's his time to arrive, and I think one of the reasons he's gonna arrive is because he's playing the Jets. And this is how I make a lot of my picks. Who's playing against the Jets, the Dolphins, and maybe the Lions. All right, Andrew, how about you?
All right. Well, I feel like Jonathan Taylor sort of arrived last week personally, but and Kenyon Drake's a
good
great
point.
call. Great call. I mean, like the Lions are basically the worst in every single run defense metric you can come up with. So I'm totally on board with that. I think the real test will be, does he quite meet those numbers that Ross the Boss was talking about? Because those were some bold calls. So we'll have to check the tape on that one. That should be interesting to see. I'm going to go a little deeper here for a pick for you guys. Wide receiver. This guy used to be considered a terrific receiver. He's kind of fallen off the map a little recently. That's A.J. Green with the Bengals. He's been getting peppered with targets. He just hasn't really put up the numbers yet so far. But one metric that's really important to look at for wide receivers is called air yards, which basically just keeps track of how many yards in the air were thrown to a specific receiver, whether they caught the ball or not. And he is actually leading the entire NFL in air yards by a healthy margin. He goes up this week against an Eagles defense that's not really known for their pass coverage. So I actually like Deshaun Jackson on the other side of that matchup as well. I think there'll be a lot of deep balls that might be caught in that game on both sides. But I think A.J. Green really takes off this week, and we can start looking at him as a wide receiver 2 option going forward.
I give you credit for taking somebody harder to find on the stockpile of players, but I also thought air yards was what the Cleveland Browns do. It's just no
Yeah, unfortunately,
no yards whatsoever.
They're predictive, but they don't count for anything in the moment. Yeah.
That sounds like the Browns. They don't count for anything in the moment. All right, guys, we're gonna we haven't
hold
even
on.
let Kasey get a pick.
Casey,
Hey, what
Come
about
on. Just because
I'm only
wait.
the lead singer.
just because I had the worst one last week doesn't mean I get eliminated here.
Yeah.
No,
I'm gonna
Kasey
go-
gets to go.
Kasey.
I want to hear this pick. I can't
All right,
wait.
I'm going to go with the somebody on the Bengals as well, but I'm going with
Yes.
Drew Sample, the tight end for the Bengals.
Ooh,
They're going
that's
against,
really deep. I like
going
that.
up against the Eagles, who just gave up 3 touchdowns to Tyler Higbee of the Rams, and the week before that even allowed Logan Thomas into the end zone. They're notoriously bad at covering the tight end, and with Uzoma on the IR, Sample's the number one there. So I just think for somebody who's not getting any love, that he could get you at least a good chunk of yards and find the end zone once, or probably just once, but I would like to see it twice. The other tight end I'm looking at is Mo Alley Cox if he gets the start there in Indianapolis against the Jets, because I think both of those guys are lower on the totem pole for tight ends, and tight ends is notoriously difficult for finding a lot of fantasy points, and those guys could help you a lot and they're probably available in a lot of leagues.
I think
And the other
bold
thing is
calls.
this. The other thing is this. Kittle, I don't think's playing this week. He's not practicing. They say he might play. I say I don't think he's going to play. So you could probably pick up Sample or Cox in your league. You could pick him up and start him one week. You know, I mean,
You can't
it's
pick him
not a
up
bad
in my
start.
league. Okay,
you're in
I'm
some
gonna
weirdo
also.
I
I'm
gotta
also
say,
gonna
Kasey
say
deserves
J-
credit though for going deep on this one, guys. If we're gonna ban
does.
quarterbacks, I think we should also ban consensus top 10 running backs from the conversation going.
All right,
forward.
fine.
Fine,
You're right.
next
So
week
then,
that's fine. We'll ban
okay,
that.
so yeah, I'm gonna change my pick then. I'm gonna go with Jerick McKinnon out of
Nice.
San Francisco against the Giants. And I agree. I think we should try to go deeper dive. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the games. Oh no, go ahead, Ross. What were we gonna say?
I'll change my pick to Joshua Kelly for the Chargers. How about that?
Good one.
Nice.
I'm
Now we've
on
got-
board with both of those. Good
Okay,
job,
fine.
guys.
Here we go. Go.
All right, let's look at Tennessee versus Minnesota. What do you expect in there? Who are the breakout stars in that game, or the ones that you think are just very start worthy?
Who are you asking me? I mean,
No, I was asking myself. I'm kidding. Go.
Well, I'm going to go back with Ryan Tannehill again because I mean, we're just going to keep saying this over and over again. But I mean, Tennessee looks
Loves
like a
him.
fantastic team offensively right now, despite Derrick Henry not finding the end zone. We know he's going to get his eventually. Probably happens this week because that Vikings defense is. I think people traditionally think of the Vikings as having a strong defense. They don't have a strong defense anymore, and I think Tennessee can run all over them with Henry. I think that Tannehill's going to spread the ball around. Jonnu Smith could have another big game. Corey Davis is interesting if A.J. Brown sits out, which it looks like that's going to happen. So I'm pretty happy starting Tannehill as a back end QB1. Corey Davis is sort of in that wide receiver 3 kind of conversation, and Derrick Henry's definitely a top 5 type of running back.
Top
Nice.
3.
And I think on the other side, I think Adam Thielen is like routinely underrated as a wide receiver. He's, for some reason, he
I don't
seems
think
to
he's very
always be
good.
overlooked, but he
No, I'm
catches
kidding.
100 balls a year. He gets into the end zone. He's a great route runner. He has great hands. So you can always rely on him too, I believe.
Casey likes
Getting a
his
huge
hands.
target share
You heard
too,
it here
yeah.
first. All right, we've got Vegas at New England. Ross,
I'll start. I mean, Vegas.
yeah.
I mean, Cam Newton's been playing great this season. It wouldn't be my first choice to start him if you have somebody else on your bench that can play. I think the Raiders are playing great, and I think that Cam might have some problems with the Raiders defense. But I would definitely start Josh Jacobs for the Raiders. I also like Waller, their tight end. He had over 100 yards on Monday night. He was unbelievable. But again, I don't know if that game's going to be a high-scoring game. It could be like a 20-13 type situation. It could be a tight game. I would kind of stay away a little bit with that game. It's not one of my favorites.
how about Green Bay, New Orleans? Speaking of high-scoring games, I would think that would be a high-scoring game. I mean, New Orleans has a good defense, and the Packers aren't too shabby on defense either.
I actually think that game might underwhelm a little bit for fantasy, especially considering Michael Thomas is going to be out again, and it's looking like there's a real chance Devontae Adams is going to be out too. And
We'll
that's
find
the
out
Sunday-
tomorrow.
that-
Tomorrow, I talked to Devontae's agent, and his agent told me we'll find out very soon if it's going to be a game time decision. Basically,
I hope we find out before the 1:00 kickoffs because that's a
Game
Sunday
time
night
decision.
game, and a lot of people are going to be waiting on Devontae Adams on Sunday night, and that puts you in a situation. I'm in one league where I'm really hoping he plays. If he doesn't, I'm going to have to probably sit him at the last minute and go with someone like McCole Hardman with the Chiefs and just hope he makes that one big play against Baltimore.
And like I said, I'm worried about Drew Brees. I don't think he's the same player he was last year. I think Father Time caught up with him. I think his arm is dead. I would, if I had Brees on one of my teams, I would not start him. I would start somebody else. This game's a big deciding game on Brees' season. If he does not do well, I would probably drop him if I had him on my team, actually. I feel that strong about it. And Green Bay, again, Devontae Adams, if he goes, they have a great shot of winning. It just depends if Devontae plays or not.
Oh, I just realized something. I was looking at the Washington-Cleveland game, and it made me realize that Antonio Gibson is going to go bananas.
Yes,
so
love that call.
He's my backup pick.
His
maybe
snap
I should
count
even
jumped.
replace Jerick McKinnon.
His snap count jumped from like 25% of the snaps in week 1 when people were talking about Peyton Barber, who we all know is terrible, and it jumped up to 65%
Sorry, Daniel.
of the snaps.
I didn't think he was good.
But you thought he might get some touchdowns.
The reality
right?
of that game is, if you have somebody playing that
I was
game,
hoping.
you have to watch the game, and it's just like, I mean, I don't think there's a worse game to watch than Cleveland and Washington. This
I don't know. You for what? For fantasy purposes or for
just
football?
for enjoyment. I mean,
I don't like semi-pro ball. That's the joke I usually make about the Browns. Okay, how about Carolina and San Diego? We're gonna finish on this, and we're just gonna hope that Devontae Adams' agent calls Ross in the next minute.
I think you mean LA,
Okay,
not
Carolina,
San Diego.
How bad do we feel for Tyrod Taylor? His own doctor
God.
punctures his
God.
lung.
Wait, the one
Could
silver
cost him
lining
a lot of money.
is but the one silver lining is
what is
Tyrod
it?
Taylor was going to. Oh, he had his doctor.
No, I know what
accidentally-
happened. He saw the doctor. He had bad ribs. The doctor put a shot to make the pain go away, and he punctured his lungs.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Above all, do no harm.
I mean, basically, Herbert is basically the starting quarterback this week. and
But I mean,
it's-
that was going to happen anyway. The one saving grace for Tyrod Taylor is that he was going to get injured in about 10 minutes into the game anyway. So, this gets him some rest at least. I
I feel bad for him.
He got Wally
I do
pipped.
feel bad for him. That was always going to happen. But how about Mike Davis coming in? Do you think he's going to have a success? I think he's going to struggle because he's replacing Christian McCaffrey. You can't really replace that in San Diego. You know what? They're the Chargers from San Diego. I don't care.
It's better making that mistake than the Washington mistake. So good job on that.
That's true. That's true. The San Diego Redskins are going to dominate the Carolina Raptors. I'm completely.
I think Mike
nuts.
Davis will be okay in terms because he's just going to get a bunch
Sheer
of
volume.
catches. Yeah,
He's volume.
I mean, I don't think he's going to run for that much, but I think he'll catch like 5-6 passes at least. So in PPR leagues, that will pay the bills. You know what I mean? But I'd much rather start the running backs on the other side of the ball in that game. The Chargers run. I think both. I've been a little bit down compared to some people on Eckler just because I did think that they were going to run the ball with someone else more than people were imagining, and that person is Joshua Kelly. And this is the kind of game where the Chargers could get out to a big lead and they could just pound the rock with Kelly in the second half. So, to go with Ross the Boss's pick there, I'm on board with that for sure.
And I think Keenan Allen likes seeing Herbert at quarterback more so than Tyrod Taylor too. So you could see his targets kind of go up and his value jump because of that too.
I think Keenan Allen may have punctured his lung.
Okay,
Maybe he was the doctor.
and Ross the Boss loves the Chargers in that game. Bet the Chargers if you're a betting person.
That's right.
There is one more game we have to talk about. I'm not going away unless we talk about this game.
All right, you gotta make it fast.
This
Go.
game is the Monday night game. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, world champions, at my Super Bowl pick for this year, the Baltimore Ravens. Ross the Boss. It's hard to bet against Mahomes, but Ross the Boss is betting against Mahomes. I feel that Jackson's going to have an unbelievable game Monday night, lights out. It's going to be a great game, and I just feel the Ravens will win by 10 points. That's Ross the Boss talking to you, and I love talking sports. So as you guys all know, I'm taking. If you have anybody on either of those teams, start them. If you have any of those players that start on any of those teams, start them. There's no, you don't bench anybody from those either teams. The game's going to be a 65, 70 point total game. It's going to be a lot of scoring. You heard it from me first. The over-under is going to be over. So start those players. That's
This
Ross
is going to
Ross.
make Ross very angry that he traded Jackson.
Yeah.
Last week. All right, now listen. We're going to move on, but we're going to check in on our picks next week. Up next, we find out 8 more heroes and villains who are going to bite the dust in Monster Madness. Welcome back. It's time for Monster Madness. 8 more heroes and villains are going to bite the dust, and we are going to decide who. It's not an exact science, but we usually get it exactly right. We're going to do the 2 15 seeds and the 7 10 seeds today. And we're going to start with the 2 seed in the West, Zeus, facing off against another Arnold character, the Terminator. Could be from any of the Terminator movies, but not Terminator 3. That's outlawed. Okay, Andrew, tell me, who do you got, Zeus or Terminator?
All right. Well, I think we're gonna get to a Ghostbusters discussion a little bit later, but this sort of reminds me of a line from Ghostbusters. If someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. And with Zeus, you can't go against the god. He's got the lightning. You know, maybe the Terminator is from the future or whatever, but the future can't beat the myth. The myth always wins. So I'm going with the god on this one.
That's actually a myth. Okay, Kasey, how about you?
I got to agree with Andrew. I'm going with Zeus, considering one of the ways to kill the Terminator is to overheat him, and kind of Zeus controls lightning. So even if it was a more fair fight, I think in the end he would just melt him down, like at the end of Terminator, where he's going into the molten pit and destroying himself.
Ross, I challenge you to mount an argument for Terminator if you can. If you can't, I understand. It's a tough call.
I'll show you a bobblehead.
Oh,
I'm taking the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know why? Because no one beats the Terminator. The Terminator always comes back. What's his saying? I'll be back. That's what he says. He won't lose to Zeus. Zeus is a mythical character. It wasn't even real. The Terminator is a real guy. He's on the big screen. Zeus
I'm
is a
scared
joke.
if he's actually real.
I have a
didn't know
feeling
that.
there's been a few movies that Zeus was in as well.
You name one. Listen,
It's true, but
I'm taking the Terminator. I think he would just rip him up in pieces. He's a machine. He's lean. He's not going to lose. The Terminator's my pick. Boom.
I love it.
Bobblehead argument is always powerful.
You actually made the most. Yeah, the bobblehead argument is always very compelling. But you made the most compelling argument of all, which is that Zeus is actually a myth. So is he even going to show up?
Well,
this might as well be Terminator versus Elijah. Not even showing up.
That's a
Well,
good.
I think he proved the point that Zeus deserves a bobblehead. If he doesn't already have one, he needs one.
He's in no
It's
bobblehead.
true, but Zeus
Schwarzenegger.
has a. Listen, Zeus thinks he is God, so he has a very big head. It's a huge bobblehead.
The god of gods.
I'm gonna listen. Zeus earned his place here, so I'm gonna assume that he is real in some sense, and he is a god. So I think the Terminator.
You can't be
listen, the
serious.
Terminator. I'm sorry. Okay, we're moving on. We got the 2 seed that Ross hates the most. Yoda, yes. And facing off against Captain America, who I believe Kasey was outraged about being a 15 seed.
He's not a 15 seed. It's terrible. He's not a 15 seed.
What should he be?
He should
All
probably
right,
be a 4 or 5 seed. I don't think he's. I don't think he can compete with Yoda.
He's just an old frozen soldier with a shield. Am I
super
wrong?
strength, super speed.
Have you seen the field?
Well, this is the
have you
age-old
seen the
argument, though, of whether the seeding should be just based on pure, power, or should it be, or do the intangibles matter? I am inclined to agree with Kasey that the intangibles do matter, and Captain America's a winner, but unfortunately, he's paired up with someone else who is also clearly a winner in Yoda. So he doesn't, Yoda deserves every bit of his seed.
Yeah, I think if Yoda was limited to the lightsaber, it would be a much better battle. But when you bring in the Force and the use of the Force, I just don't think Captain America can win that one, because it's the all-present power that runs through all of us, so he can just do as he pleases with Captain America.
Frozen, and
he's
his
going to
shield
toy
can
with
be
him.
moved around. I will say this about this matchup. I think this is the oldest matchup we have because Yoda is 900 years old, and Captain America has been frozen for how long? So he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
This is a seriously, although when we talk about Moby Dick against the Balrog, they might actually be older. I don't know.
Yeah, Middle Earth is a long time ago.
Listen, there's no chance. Yoda, the only way that Captain America beats Yoda is if he is in the middle of dying. If he's in his Luke,
My main question.
I think
maybe.
Captain America has a chance, but I don't think it's a good enough chance to pick him.
My main question is what would cause these two to fight, because they're both so noble. It's like, it's sort of, I guess we did have the,
it's like Civil War.
The Civil War, exactly. It's
Yeah.
but at least there you could see that Iron Man and Captain America kind of have rival sort of mentalities, whereas I think Yoda's more on the Captain America side of that.
I think if Captain
they're
America
peas in
was
a
kind of
pod.
raised in the beliefs of the Empire as opposed to the Jedi, he would be loyal to the Empire regardless of whether it's true and virtuous.
Just a foot soldier for the cause.
Yeah.
We have to let Ross weigh in because he didn't think Yoda should be a 2 seed, and we haven't heard from him yet. I think he's still sulking about
He's
Zeus
still
and the
salty
Terminator.
about the Terminator.
I'm still upset about Yoda's like, in all seriousness, is he 2 feet tall, 3 feet? How tall is Yoda? 2 feet?
I think.
Do you
he's
count the
18
arm and the
inches.
puppet,
He's
or
like
just-
Stonehenge.
He's smaller.
He's a
He's smaller
Smurf.
than a little
He's
person.
a green Smurf.
He's a Smurf. I mean, and Captain America is built like a rock, right? He has superpowers. He has superpowers. I mean, I don't think Yoda can keep up with them. I know Yoda has the Force and all this stuff, but he's not going to use the Force against Captain America. It's against his
He's
ethic.
not?
No, it's against his. Do you remember Obi-Wan Kenobi, how he died? Do you remember how noble that was? Do you remember that Star Wars?
Yeah, I remember. He said, "If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." Meaning,
Correct.
I will turn into a ghost who talks to Luke sometimes.
Correct. So Yoda, I think Yoda would do the same thing with Captain America, knowing what he stands for, good in the American way. I see Captain America winning this because Yoda will just let him win.
So you're
Yeah, but-
basically they're gonna end it like on a handshake, I think.
But that's the
Basically,
problem.
yeah.
Captain America would also
Basically,
let Yoda win, so then I think it just goes to the higher seed.
No,
doesn't
Captain
it?
America has to fight for America. He's going to be around. I'm taking Captain America. How do you like that upset?
All right.
Well, you
Casey,
lost
your
again.
final decision.
Is Yoda. As much as I love Captain America and think he should be a
Yoda.
higher seed,
All right, I got you.
There
Yoda
is
too.
no
I'm sorry,
America
Ross.
in Star Wars.
You guys are just.
there is
you
no
guys-
try.
You could be a captain in Star Wars, but you can't be Captain America.
There is no Yoda in America either, based on spelling or otherwise. Okay, on to Thanos, or as Lauren would say, Thanos, against Samson, or as we came to call him, Samson. So this is a really interesting one, with spelling and pronunciation aside. I'm going to start with you, Ross, this time, since you got shut out from that conversation for way too long. Thanos versus Samson.
I like the old biblical heroes. I'm taking Samson. I love the hair. I love the strength. I think he can overtake him. I'm taking another upset. I'm taking Samson. He's my guy, hands down. Ross the
I love
Boss
it.
takes him.
Ross, you got a thing for hair, because Chewbacca, you did not like him
And
going
for
down. He has good hair
15
too.
seeds.
And
And for
mustache.
15 seeds. Okay. Andrew, let's go with you next.
Well, I'm actually inclined to agree with Ross on this one. I think Thanos, the problem is his hands are too big to hold the scissors. So how's he going to cut that hair? And he's also got he's also got the rings on his hands, so it's going to make it even tougher. Those rings are good against anyone else except someone like Samson, because these are all similar characters. You got Superman, you got Samson, you got Thanos. They're all just sort of like one-dimensional. If they've got their thing, they're unstoppable. If they don't have their thing, that they are just instantly lose. So I think the problem is again the big mittens. He can't hold the scissors, so he's going to lose.
Yeah, and there's no Delilah there either. Casey, how about you?
It's interesting. I was leaning Thanos before, but hearing those arguments, it kind of gives me some pause about picking that one. I still think if Thanos has all of the Infinity Stones, it's impossible for Samson to defeat him. But shy of the Infinity Stones, I think, Samson proved to be a pretty formidable opponent in his day. And so I'm going to agree with the other two. I'm going to go Samson.
Yes.
All right. Well, my vote doesn't really matter. Was Samson Jewish, by the way? I can't remember. Was he?
Old Testament, right? So
Old
I
Testament,
guess he's
they're
gotta
all-
be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, that makes me root for Samson, but I'm calling Thanos. I don't know what.
I know
Avengers
William.
movies you guys
I
saw.
know William Shatner's Jewish. I know that.
All right. Well, William Shatner would not be either of these.
Not
And
too
Lou Brown.
Even if he's
shabby.
Kirk. All right. So Thanos moves. No, sorry.
No,
Samson. moves
Samson.
on. Big upset. And I'm all for it. Darth Vader is the other 2 seed we have going against another 15 seed who a lot of people have objected to being low enough. Batman, to me, I think he's kind of lucky to be in this tournament. Honestly, he's just a man with a utility belt.
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't have any superpower. He's certainly bright and designs some brilliant weapons, but I mean, Darth Vader is the.
Right?
Like,
If he
he's
if
the
he had a
baddest
better
of all
draw,
the bad asses.
I mean, like even if Batman were facing like Alien.
yeah, if
could
he had
beat
Buffy
Alien.
the Vampire Slayer, I would pick. I would pick
But
Batman.
he drew Darth Vader. I mean,
yeah,
Darth
you can't
Vader
beat Darth
is-
Vader. So it's Darth Vader in a landslide.
Unlike Yoda, Darth Vader's not taking any mercy. I'm Darth Vader all the way. Anybody got Batman in this?
Well, I do want to just say this is totally the Dark Knight versus the Dark Knight. These guys they're both
That's what I was
going
gonna say.
for the same thing stylistically, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Batman is sort of disrespected the same way as Captain America. They both have some great intangibles, but the thing is that Darth Vader also has those.
Darth Vader will
intangibles
just
and so
choke
much
him.
more.
He'll
Yeah.
do
Darth
this
Vader
thing
can
and
just choke
cut
him without even touching him. He can like stop him from breathing. Remember, he has that power where
Yeah,
you don't
just
have
like
to touch
Yoda,
him.
by the way.
Just
But Yoda
looks
wouldn't.
at him. Now, is it Batman and Robin, or is this Batman by himself?
No, it's just Batman by himself.
Not that
Yeah.
Robin would
Darth
wanna
Vader
help
would just be
anyway.
like,
No.
Batman,
The
I
other-
am your daddy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
that's not really a fair fight. I mean, Darth
Holy
Vader.
dark
it's
side,
not.
Batman.
The other thing
Darth-
Darth Vader has going for him is the power of University of Michigan alum James Earl Jones' voice. So
Yeah, and he also will have a lightsaber. I mean, Batman will be like, I have my Oh, you just chopped off my leg. So, all right. Darth Vader moves on there by chopping off his leg. Now, we're going to Ghostbusters for you, Andrew. I know you're very excited about that. We've got the number 7 seed, another god, Loki, a very mischievous young man, or very old, as the case may be, against the number 10 seed, Gozer, the ghost god from Ghostbusters. I think she had the red eyes. She was pretty terrifying. She kind of looked a little like Charlie Sheen in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'm just going to say that.
She was very terrifying in an 80s way.
But I also think, didn't Gozer turn into whatever you feared the most?
Well, you
That's
choose,
how Gozer took the form of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Was
because
it-
Dan
did
Aykroyd's
she
the
take the
hilarious
form?
It's not who you fear the most. No, well, first of all, she didn't take the form, but she says to the Ghostbusters, choose the form
It's
of
just
the
who you think of.
Destructor, and then it's whoever pops into their head. So Ray thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because he...
So what would Loki think of? That's
Ooh, I
the
like it,
question.
Kasey.
Would Loki
Ross,
think
what
of Thor?
That
What
I
what
don't
would
know.
Loki think of?
that's a great.
Because-
I don't know. I mean, it would probably
Because then it's a battle. I mean,
it'd probably
that's
be some
I would have
type of
picked.
animal. I imagine. I mean, it probably won't be and nothing you see on TV. It's going to be something like in the wild. It's going to be. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be.
And it's going to be some Asgardian wild
be like a
animal, not
fire
like
giant or
not
something.
like a groundhog.
Can
No,
we
not a
just-
groundhog. It'd be like some type of two-headed lion or something. I don't know. Some mythical character. I imagine.
See,
So I think
but I'm gonna
Gozer
make
has
the-
a
I'm gonna make the
real
counter-
chance.
I'm going to make the counter argument that Loki has full control over this, and he is like a mind-bending kind of guy. He's going to figure out how to just smoke
Yeah,
Gozer.
well, I'm going that way. I'm going to
no.
Loki.
I got
Here's the thing.
Loki.
Here,
I'm
I'm
can
going
we
to
get
take
real for a
Gozer
minute?
because I think he's going to turn into Thor.
Yeah, and can we get real for a minute? Loki is like he's for a god, he's kind of a loser. I mean, he's got this like inferiority complex with Thor. Like that's not godlike at all, you know. He's like he constantly is trying to prove how great he is because he knows he's really not. I mean, I just think that that Gozer would, whatever he would think of.
So, do we have a tie?
We got 2 Gozer votes. I
We
love
got
it.
a tie. So, okay, the tiebreaker goes to Lauren because she's not here. She's not in studio with us today, but she told me what her picks were, and she picked Gozer. So, Gozer advances.
Yes.
I don't know why. Well, that's that.
Yes.
Okay, guys, on to the 7-10 matchup, Balrog versus Moby Dick. We've got a whale in the house. And I, for one, the Balrog is a very powerful creature, but the Balrog just stays like deep in like a giant dwarf coal mine. I don't even think the Balrog's going to show. And Moby Dick, meanwhile, I don't care whether he's on land or on water. That is a big whale. Moby Dick will swallow the Balrog, and the Balrog will just be like, fine, this is just like a dwarf's mine. I'm going with Moby Dick.
This seems like another one where the battle takes place would be determining the
It's in the
outcome.
Midwest.
It's in the Midwest. Was
Not
it in
a
one
lot
the
of
great,
water
Is it in one of the
for-
Great Lakes?
Moby Dick.
If it's in one of the Great
in Lake
Lakes,
Erie.
okay, then I think Moby Dick would win. I mean, the fire isn't going to work too well in the water there, so I'm going Moby.
Ross, what say you?
I'll go with the whale just because I think it's nice we go with an animal, a mammal,
Environmentally,
just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Captain America also a mammal, but
That's true.
Still, I like your
I'm
point.
talking
But,
about, I'm
look,
talking about an animal, though, and not talking about
An
a human
animal
being.
mammal. Right?
I'm talking
I
about a
got
human
it.
being.
An animal.
So I'll go
Obviously-
with I'll go with Moby Big Dick too, just because I was kind of
Moby Big
fearful.
Dick.
I was fearful about him being in this tournament. I was like saying, well, I mean, don't you just get a harpoon
Yeah, see,
and kill the whale?
but
I guess not.
now we get Moby Dick versus Captain America. That's
that's
Yoda
an easy
advanced. I'm sorry, that didn't work. But Yoda versus Moby Dick is going to be really interesting. Okay, now we're moving on to Doctor Strange versus the Kraken. I'm going to go on record as saying Doctor Strange, with all of his time discs, will just make the Kraken go somewhere else, and suddenly he'll be in the Himalayas. So I'm going with Doctor Strange myself.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a contest here, quite frankly. The Kraken is scary if you're a pirate or, I guess, a boat captain sailing along the seas. But Doctor Strange's ability to manipulate time, his ability to manipulate space and send people to different quadrants of the world, if not universe, I just think he will do his magic and the Kraken will just disappear.
Andrew, Ross, who you got?
There's no way I can take McCracken. You guys know that. It's barely a business. This is
Wait, did you just call him McCracken?
Yeah,
I think you
McCracken.
did. I like that. Like
Is that like McLovin?
Film,
McLovin? Yeah, or
McCracken is going to battle Mishu.
it's Doctor
isn't
Strange
McLovin in this?
against Phil. McLovin should be. He's in the NIT. It's Doctor Strange versus Phil McCracken. Who you got?
McCracken. So Doctor Strange TKO first round. It's not even close. I wish I can argue it at all, but there's no
Andrew,
argument.
can you argue the Kraken at all?
can't
Or
argue.
Well, I will say
release
in
the Kraken.
Well, the one thing I will say about the Kraken is the Kraken is actually a pretty mystical type of a beast as well. So I don't think the Kraken would necessarily be put off by Doctor Strange's antics in the way that maybe like King Kong would be or something like that. At the same time, I have to say Doctor Strange was one of the most underrated Marvel movies, so he gets the bonus points there for me. So I'm gonna side on with Doctor Strange.
All right, he advances. The Kraken is released from the tournament. I'm gonna go to now one of my favorite sleepers in this, and I'm gonna start with this because I don't care what any of you say. If it's 3-1 and I lose, I need to go on record saying that Medusa, the 7 seed, is going to take out King Kong. You have to remember how ugly Medusa is. She's so ugly. She turns
ugly is she?
everyone into stone. She's so ugly. She
How
turns
ugly?
everyone into stone. Okay, it was a terrible joke. But King Kong is going to be like,
Yeah, King Kong would have to
You thought I froze,
King
didn't you?
Kong would have to get really lucky and land a blow with his eyes closed. If he could do that, if we think his reach and his hands are big
he
enough
doesn't
to
have the temperament. He doesn't have the temperament to beat Medusa because he's just going to get angry and he's going to look and Medusa's going to be ugly as hell and it's over. Ross, do you agree with me?
No, I don't. I'm taking King Kong. I think King Kong will step
Kong
up.
and Godzilla for Ross.
he'll make a very quick knockout of it. That's the only chance he has. He has to go for like the total like full swing roundhouse kick or fist and just knock her out. I mean, he knows not to look at her. He's prepped. I've been training King Kong. I've been training King Kong.
How have you been prepping
Oh, you
him?
were training him.
I've been training
You're
King
training
Kong.
him.
I don't look at her. He's going to wear mirror glasses anyway. So if he looks at her, she's going to turn to stone. But that all being said, I'm taking King Kong. I like the upset. I don't think Medusa has a chance against this big ape. So Ross the Boss is taking King Kong.
Andrew, it's up to you. Does it go to a tiebreaker or not?
Okay. So let me just tell a quick story. When I was like 7 years old, I went to Universal Studios in LA and got a tour. And the tour guide told me that they spent $1 million to give King Kong banana breath. So, and I believed that for like 2 or 3 years after that, until I finally got old enough to realize that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
I'm a bridge in Brooklyn. I might tell you too.
So so I'm envisioning King Kong trying to just give some sort of banana belch towards Medusa to try to stun her. But the problem is that bananas are one of the greatest foods on earth, and I don't think Medusa would really be put off by that in any way. And it's hard to burp also with your eyes closed. So I'm assuming that King Kong's going to be looking at her when he does that, and that's when he gets turned to stone, and Medusa pulls it off.
He's going to be like,
yeah.
There you go.
Mid burp, his burp turns to stone.
This is one of the reasons Medusa has to advance. She has to keep freezing people like that. Okay, guys, we've decided who is advanced. I'm sure there's going to be lots of arguments about what we chose, but those arguments are largely incorrect. Now, up next, Ross and I have the pleasure of talking fantasy sports, football career, and life after the game with Rick Cunningham, longtime NFL player. The Arizona Cardinals, the Oakland Raiders, I think the Colts, if I have that right.
The Vikings, the Colts, the Vikings.
But that's not
the Montreal Alouettes. The Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, and he won a Grey Cup, right?
He won a Grey Cup. He also played arena football for Las Vegas. He also played in the World Football League for the Orlando Thunder. So he's played in a lot of leagues, a lot of players he's been played with, and he has a lot of great stories. I'm excited.
I can't wait to hear his stories about playing with you. That's what I want to hear, cowboy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and we have a great interview today. We have Rick Cunningham. He played offensive tackle for Phoenix, for the Minnesota. He played for the Indianapolis. He also played for the Raiders. And he played 9 years in the NFL, 16 years professionally. He actually won a Grey Cup in Canada, too. I've known him my whole life. He played his college ball at A&M. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
I mean, we're excited to have you on. It's been crazy with your Raiders. I know you're a big Cardinal fan. You live in Arizona. Why are the Cardinals so successful this year? What's the change? Why are they 2-0? I mean, I never suspected this to start the season.
So, I met Cliff Kingsbury. I met him when he was at Texas A&M, when he was coaching out there. And I always thought he was a pretty good coach. I remember talking to him and telling him, that I thought he was doing a real good job down there. But, they weren't that successful. But now at the Cardinals, you look at that quarterback, you look at how they're trying to get the defense better. I think the defense can get a little better still. But right now, I think the quarterback's the key. They bought in a great receiver, obviously, but –
I mean, Hopkins is the number one receiver in the league. Michael Thomas is out for a while. I mean, Hopkins is just every week he's like over 100 yards and at least a touchdown. He's unbelievable. I mean, did you think they'll be this good this year? I mean, they're in a tough division. They're with Dallas. They're with they're with some tough teams.
Honestly, man, I think they're always going to be good. I always think that the Cardinals are going to be good every year. I always think, sometimes I look at it and I go, we have to get the O-line. We need a new receiver. We need a new running back. I'm always critical of the Cardinals, but I always feel like they're going to do good.
So let's talk about your Raiders. I remember when you played for Oakland, and you and Al Davis had a great relationship. Well, why don't you remind the audience about how you and Al were good friends and how he was just not an owner, but he was actually a good friend of yours, and tell him.
Yeah, you know what? The first time I met him, it was I was parking cars across the street from the Coliseum in L.A., and I went over to pick up the cars, and he started talking to me. He said, hey, how old are you? And I told him I think I was about 17, 18 years old. And he said, hey, I'm gonna keep my eye on you. And it was pretty funny. I was so excited. I met Al Davis. I think I told the same story for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, hey man, I met Al Davis, man. He's a billionaire. He's like really nice to me. He told me that he's gonna look out for me. And then the older I got, it was funny when I was coming out. When I was getting drafted, I got a phone call from the Raiders, and they said, hey, we're thinking about picking you up. And at the time, they said, we're thinking about picking you up, maybe the second day. And I think the second day it was around the fifth round or sixth round when I was coming out. And I got a call, but the thing was I was getting calls from a lot of teams. It was funny. It was weird. And I didn't even think about getting drafted. I was upstairs playing video games with my agent's son. He was.
Of course you were.
He was probably 8 years old. Yeah, we were hanging out, and I got a call from the Colts first, and I was like, wow, man, I thought Al Davis was going to draft me, And when I went to the Colts, I was excited. I was, I did a backflip. It was.
Did?
Yeah, I did like a full backflip.
I wish I had the tape.
I'm impressed you did a backflip at all. That's
hey, you know what?
And you're tall, right?
Yeah,
he's 6'9", he's 6'9", 300. Just so you know, when he played football. When he played football,
you were 6'9". At the time, I was 6'7", about 272 pounds. But yeah.
Were you really? Oh,
Yeah.
In high school, he was a little bigger.
Yeah.
Rick and I went to high school together. I've known Rick a long time. And when the Colts drafted you, the first pick they took was Jeff George, right? He was the
they took Jeff George.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
I remember thinking, so when the call came, they go, hey, how would you like to block for Jeff George? And I was like, yeah, and they go, and Eric Dickerson. I said, wait a minute, come on, Eric Dickerson. Yeah. You should have seen my face. I mean, it was about to explode. And when I first met him, I was telling Eric Dickerson, I was calling him like sir and Mr. Dickerson and everything.
Mr. Dickerson, right?
Yeah, he's like, hey, why are you talking to me like that? I said, I was all scared, And it was funny because, he after a while, he took me under his wing, and I was hanging out with him. And when he lives in LA, in Malibu.
In Malibu, I remember with the dogs. He had all the dogs.
Yeah, so it was a great experience meeting him.
He's great. So 9 years NFL. What opponent did you have to face that you didn't want to go head to head with this guy, but you had to because that was your job? What was the hardest job you had to do to block in your career?
This is embarrassing, but I gotta tell the truth. Reggie White was. I put it this way. I look at today. I look at Aaron Donald, and Reggie White was the same thing. I mean, he's just one of those guys. It was impossible to block by himself or by yourself. And he, one thing about him, he was strong. He was explosive. He was quick. And, I think against the run, I used to get after him. But when it's time to pass block, you had to try to outthink him. And it was really hard because he only had 2 moves, but he used them great, And, one time he threw me and put me on ESPN, and I just thought the world was different. He called me on the phone and said, hey, man, I saw you on ESPN. They were like, they played the music, and I was like, oh. I was shaking my head, man. And then after that, every time I would play him, I would be up all night just thinking like, oh, Reggie again. He was amazing. I miss him. I love him. He was a great guy. But he was amazing, man.
Yeah, he was totally Hall of Famer, always on the first team NFL all-time team. He was great. I mean, I saw him in person to play a few times, and he was above. I mean, I don't think anybody could block him.
The thing that was really crazy was that some of the guys who, when I first got in the league, that I thought were going to be real scary to play against, I played against them really well. Like I thought, I was like, man, I had issues with like guys who were really strong, quick guys, fast guys, I never worried about. But those strong guys, it was like, I tell you the 2 guys that to me were really, really good. And obviously Reggie White and Jim Jeffcoat.
Jim Jeffcoat, yeah, he was great. And you actually played tight end, and you caught a touchdown pass when he played for the Raiders in the Kingdom, which is which a lot of people
Wait,
can't
you
say.
were you were an offensive lineman and a tight end.
Yeah,
Rick has great
and
hands.
And he can do backflips. Wait, I also want to ask about the days where you played with Ross.
Ross the boss. Yeah.
What were you called, Ross the boss back then? Is that
No, I wasn't. I was
Rick?
just called.
Rick
I
was he? When did he start going by Ross the boss?
Hey, look, man. Ross had the afro in high school, and he started going by Ross the Boss like not too long ago. But in high school, Ross he played guard and he played linebacker, and he was actually pretty good. And,
I was all league because of you. I got all the tackles.
Hey, he was older than me, so obviously, I was looking up to him. I mean, he was my friend, but I looked up to him and stuff, and I used to admire him because he'd be out there playing and, get all dirty and be all over the place and making tackles and blocking people. And, the guys that we had, we were all, we had a really good team, but I mean, Ross started both ways. He played good. So, hey,
take that.
Can I get my money?
Take that, Dan. So Rick,
yeah, seriously. But Rick, I will say he gave you credit long before this interview. He told me, he was like, the reason I could make all those tackles is that Rick just took up multiple bodies and he had a clear path at everything.
Okay, Rick. So this weekend, your Raiders. I still think you as a Raider and a Cardinal. So
yeah.
So your Raiders are playing at New England. Tell me your prediction.
You know what? After watching them Monday, I was really impressed. Their tight end is a beast. The quarterback, he played with confidence. It's kind of it's hard because I felt like Cam played great also. But if I was
pick one.
If I was a bet man, I think I had to go with those Raiders.
Yeah, Oakland. And then
I'm thinking so too. They're coming together now.
Yeah.
I like Raiders, and then your Cardinals are at home against probably the worst team in the league, the Detroit Lions. I mean, how many touchdowns will the Cardinals score against the Lions on Sunday? What's your prediction?
I spoke to Devin. I spoke to Devin Kennard about a month ago, and I talked to him. And I said, "Hey, man, I wish I can get to that game. I want to see what's going to happen." And they're all excited. All the guys are excited about it, and I don't think that they're going to take their foot off the gas this week. So I'm looking at the Cardinals scoring maybe. With Kyler, I'm thinking Kyler's going to get about 2 on the ground. I'm looking at maybe a total of, I'm going to say 35. 35.
I think you're right. I think Murray's going to have a huge game. I don't think they have an answer for Murray or Hopkins. I predicted Drake to have a huge game also. I mean, I just feel the Cardinals are going to win by like 20-something points. I don't think it's going to be competitive at all. And Rick, you can't go to any of the games. They can't put you on the sidelines or something to watch it. Or
right now, Michael Bidwell, the owner, he doesn't want anybody getting sick, and he actually got sick, but he doesn't want anybody else getting sick, and so he's got it where no one's allowed to go to the games.
Wow.
Basically the only people that are there are the ones who are working on the field.
That's amazing. I remember last year you were almost at every Cardinal game. I remember you signed autographs before the game for the kids, and you would watch the game up in the box. But this year it's totally different. Really quick, before you go, your prediction for the Super Bowl. Who's your team you like to win it all?
Hey man, don't put me on the spot with that.
Take it. I know you watch football every week.
And you're going to say the Cardinals. Come on.
Could.
They can do it, right?
Hey, they can do it. You know what I mean? I put it this way. All I was going to say is that, I'm thinking about the division right now. And the cool thing is that, if you look at, like, right now, who's the two best teams in the league right now in the division, the Cardinals and Seattle. And so I feel like this. If we could beat Seattle, we have a chance. I worry because Russell Wilson is so good, but,
Russell Wilson's having an MVP. He's having an MVP season. He's unbelievable this year, but their defense in Seattle, it's not the defense they usually have. They have a lot of holes, and I think they're beatable. I mean, they almost lost last game.
No, I agree, but you see, this is the thing. Right now, I'm looking at no preseason. A lot of guys, I'm watching guys miss tackles. I'm looking at defenses, guys kind of out of place. It's a little different, but I'm thinking about a fourth week. Some of these defenses that have been good in the past, I think it's going to catch up to them. But to answer your questions, I do think You know, if we can beat them, Seattle and the Cardinals, NFC, AFC. In the AFC, I would probably go with right now, either the Ravens or the Chiefs.
And they play on Monday. I know you'll be watching. I predicted the Ravens by 10. Who do you think is going to win that game? It's in Baltimore.
I think the Ravens are going to beat that game. Just like
okay, good. Ross the Boss and Rick the Ruler both admit that the Ravens are going to win.
Oh yeah.
Rick, it's been great to have you on. You're a true gentleman and a friend. I don't like the beard on you because you have that baby face, but that's fine.
I love the beard.
You do?
Don't listen to the boss.
He has such good skin. He has such nice skin. Such a baby face. That beard makes him look older. But you know what? Thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again. But we'll cross paths soon.
Sounds good,
and I'm Ross the Boss, and Dan is my co-host, and we love having you on, Rick.
I love talking sports with Ross and Rick. Cowboy.
Hey, good to meet you, Dan.
Great having you on, Rick.
Okay, Rick, thank you.
You too.
Hey, you guys take care. Have a good night.
Okay, peace out.
All right, you too. Thanks for coming on.
And that's our show for today. I'm Ross the Boss. You know what? You got to subscribe to our show. I'm not asking. I'm telling you because I'm Ross the Boss. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We got the Waiver Wire show coming up on Tuesdays. You got to watch that. If you want to know fantasy football, you got to watch that show. You got to subscribe now. I'm Ross the Boss, and I love talking sports with you, cowboy.
Lying with a blanket over my head, she asked if she could see who was under the blanket with me. I said, you don't want to find. It is Hideki Matsui